Not gonna lie, it's been pretty rough lately for fans of single-player sci-fi RPGs. We were all hoping that Mass Effect Andromeda would satiate our need for the genre, but we all know how that ended up. Before that, the last sci-fi RPG that I remember playing is Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. I got it for PC, and it was fine, but it didn't quite quench my thirst for the genre as much as I thought it would. Not to mention that things like performance issues and game-breaking bugs in the PC version prevented me from fully enjoying and finishing the game. Before Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, I honestly cannot remember the last time I played a truly mind-blowing, expansive, immersive sci-fi RPG. I guess I did enjoy Deus Ex Human Revolution and the original Mass Effect trilogy, but those games are pretty old now. They came out a while ago, and between that point and now, I just can't think of any good, great, phenomenal sci-fi RPGs, and I really, really thirst for one of those. Fortunately, there might be hope yet. I'm of course talking about CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. Much like the Witcher series, Cyberpunk 2077 is based on a pre-established work, this time on the tabletop RPG with the same namesake, Cyberpunk. If you're familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, Cyberpunk is pretty much that, except it takes place in a cyberpunk setting rather than a fantasy one. It's also got its own lore, its own pseudo-historical world, its own gameplay mechanics, and while it is the same genre as Dungeons & Dragons, it is an entirely different game. There are two editions of the Cyberpunk tabletop. The first edition was first published back in 1988, and it was just called Cyberpunk, although nowadays it is more commonly known as Cyberpunk 2013, because the tabletop takes place in the year 2013. The second edition, published 2 years later in 1990, is called Cyberpunk 2020. It basically takes the foundation that 2013 established and makes some adjustments to things like rules, gameplay mechanics, and even aspects of the lore. Also, as the name implies, the second edition moves the timeline of the lore from 2013 to 2020, so that's 7 years later. There is technically a third edition called Cyberpunk version 3.0, but we don't talk about it. It's considered to be the black sheep of the series, and we just like to pretend that it doesn't exist. From there, you've got Cyberpunk 2077, a video game based on the world and lore of Cyberpunk, with the main inspiration being what is considered to be the definitive edition of the Cyberpunk tabletop, Cyberpunk 2020. CD Projekt Red officially confirmed that they were developing a Cyberpunk game as far back as May 2012, after which they released a teaser trailer of the game in January 2013. Since then, we have heard very little else about the title, but even with how little we know right now, the hype for this game is absolutely immense. Not only have we not gotten a proper sci-fi RPG game, a cyberpunk RPG game no less, in quite a long time, with what CD Projekt Red accomplished with Witcher 3, just thinking about the possibilities of them helming a cyberpunk setting game just gets my heart racing. They not only make some fantastic games, they have also displayed some of the best business practices in the video game industry. They actually give a damn about their games and how it's shipped and about the consumers who are gonna play these games. With Witcher 3, for example, they delayed the game as much as they needed to release it in an acceptable state. They sorted out any remaining bugs in the game throughout the months following the game's launch. They released 15 free small DLCs that other companies would probably offer as a pre-order bonus prior to offering 2 proper expansions at a reasonable price. And most important of all, the game they created actually turned out to be pretty fucking excellent. They seem to be one of the few companies these days that actually care about shipping the best product possible rather than rushing a product out for profit. And as their DLC practices show, they're not trying to take advantage of consumers, but rather empower them with more exciting content, some for free and others charged with a reasonable price point. The team is also just extremely talented, delivering some truly incredible stories, gameplay, graphics, animations, etc. So if these guys can capitalize on Witcher 3's success, if they can continue being passionate about their games without putting profit at the forefront of their minds, if they can keep up with their consumer-friendly practices, there is simply no reason why Cyberpunk 2077 can't be another hit, another home run. And with the recent lack of a truly great game in the sci-fi RPG genre, I'm looking towards CD Projekt Red as the only studio that I trust right now to do right by us and do right by this genre. This is why from here on out, I'm fully committed to covering Cyberpunk 2077 to the fullest extent of my abilities. It's all gonna begin with a video that I'm still working on in which I'll detail everything about the game that we know so far. From there, I'm gonna be all over this game and covering any new information like my life depends on it. This and Death Stranding will be my top priorities for games to cover. I'm also hoping to do some research on the Cyberpunk lore and even check out the tabletop game to ensure I am as knowledgeable on the subject as possible. So yeah, all my faith right now when it comes to sci-fi RPGs and cyberpunk RPGs rest on CD Projekt Red's shoulders, and I have a good feeling that they're not going to disappoint. If you're looking forward to my Cyberpunk 2077 coverage, consider supporting me on Patreon so that we can keep this channel going without annoying third-party sponsorships and corporate interference. Also, let us know why you're excited about Cyberpunk 2077 and what you're looking forward to most about this game. And to be further updated on all things Cyberpunk 2077 and all things CD Projekt Red, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.